Expect us to expose you.
Today we are getting closer to fully exposing the greatest con and cover-up in the history of this country. It involves our banks, the Federal Reserve, our Congress, and of course, you and me. First, though, think of the Fed as the godfather in this con. The role of the godfather, played by former Fed Chief Alan Greenspan, denying that he ever knew what he helped perpetrate, because Greenspan was working for all of the banks against you. The bankers, of course, the unrepentant con men being supported by the Federal Reserve.
You picked him clean.
So good getting that money for free, getting away with it. Here's how the con went down. The bankers were operating under an implicit guarantee from the godfather, the Federal Reserve, in the form of guaranteed low interest rates, guaranteed cheap money exclusively for the con men. Then Chairman Greenspan, the godfather, would agree to hold those rates, let's say 2% for as far as the eye could see. The banks, or bankers, the con men, would borrow that money from the Federal Reserve, let's say 2%, and then turn around and lend it back to you at, let's say, 6%. That encouraged the patsies, you and me, and here exactly is where the con comes in. As you and I both know, the banks had no money. They were getting it from the Federal Reserve, which is us. It's funny money. They had no capital to back up their lending. But that did not matter, because they also had no risk in the lending. If the lending paid off, they win. And they won big when they did that, because they did it with leverage. Top Manhattan executives alone paid themselves $121 billion in bonuses over the first part of the decade. Now, mind you, when the bank loans failed, they knew they were too big to fail. So the rest of us, you and me, would have to bail them out. The ignorant electorate, if you will, the patsies, who had no idea, and really still don't, understand how badly they are being conned by our government and our banks. Once the banks, however, realized there was no losing, the question was, how do we make the con bigger? How do we get more money through this crazy machine so we can get richer? The question, or the answer, I should say, is simple. Make more loans, more credit card loans. Think of all the credit card applications that were sent to you over the past 10 years. More car loans. It's the reason General Motors went upside down. It wasn't the cars. It was because they were running a financing scheme. Home loans, you know the narrative. So the people most hurt by this con, the home buyers, the cops, the teachers, pensioners who were suckered in by the bait of low credit and high returns in exchange for buying worthless toxic assets manufactured by the bankers. That's why your pension fund was wiped out. That's why the interest rate on your savings to this day remains around zero. If you're a retiree, you know what I'm talking about. It's also why you're now drowning in a mortgage on a house that's worth far less than you owe, because the bankers were happy to lend you money they did not have to drive up the price of that house, because they knew the more loans the better, but no downside for them. So what's next? Higher taxes for us, higher interest rates for us to pay for the bailouts, while our government that was theoretically elected by us refuses to recover the stolen money by the con men or fix the system that allows them to continue to perpetrate the con against you and me. The current financial reform legislation proposed by our government would give the godfather, the Federal Reserve in this case, even more power to regulate the game. The con men, represented by the Wall Street bankers, of course, giving our Congress a cut of the action, $344 million so far lobbying against the bill, second only to health care. And we saw how well it worked out for special interest on health care. Home run, they got a guaranteed customer base with no reform. I'm sure the bankers will do pretty well as well. All this, of course, while assuring our lawmakers, many of whom do not even understand how the con works in the first place, that the financial crisis has been fixed, of course, with an infinite supply of your money. After all, just check out stocks over the past year. We are back over 10,000 on the Dow, thanks to that blank check from the Federal Reserve. So now, as we finally head towards Congress debating financial reform in our country, the question must be asked, does it make sense for our government to give more power to a Federal Reserve and banker con men who unrepentantly caused this crisis and make money at your expense on the pension side and on the credit side? That's the current plan. Give them more power.
Anonymous News. As the world turns, what's new has our full attention. Courage is contagious. Join us to post what mainstream media will not. The truth. If you don't want this read to you, click links below. Thanks. Bankers jumping ship as corrupt banking at the highest levels exposed. 19th February, 2012. I am going to go over this piece that will leave one with a greater understanding of why so many CEOs of banks or financial institutions are resigning by the droves. This is but one story of who knows how many that are or have gone on out there either in the past or currently. Most importantly, we have to ask, where is all the money going? This will not be a short piece, but I assure you I will make it fun and very easy to understand. It is a true labyrinth in the creation of monetary instruments and shenanigans that the elite go through to make it and use it. While you may not think this is important or that you can do anything about it, understand that just us understanding what they are doing exposes the corruption, and that alone will cause the end game. So without further ado, I will start. I would like you all to watch this 11-minute video in description below. It is a man in Parliament in London bringing the scheme to the attention of the Chamber and asking for a delegation to be set up to look into it. It appears that 15 trillion is in a void of non-compliance, and England or two of its banks are on the hook for it. He is genuinely concerned. He is the whistleblower, if you will. Here is the piece, but please watch the Chamber fill until it starts, about 2 minutes, and then fast forward the thing to 1720 where Lord Blackheath speaks, and notice the attendance then and listen then for the next 11 minutes. This is important, but I will talk about attendance later. I am going to ask you to read the transcript of this after you watch it. If you have the ability of 2 screens, you can watch and read the transcript below at the same time. Link, full document to this link below. I would like you to take the time to read the transcript now of that same speech verbatim. There's not trickery here, but the more you digest the facts, the more it will come together. When you are done reading this, I will then go over it with my edits or notes, and it will all come home. Blackheath has laid out a full report on his investigations and is asking Parliament to step in and set up a committee to look into this. Hardly anyone from Parliament stayed to listen to him. Wonder why? Riady says he was scammed and did not take 500 million for his 15 trillion in Treasury notes. Who would? The Federal Reserve has 15 trillion to loan on books from the Riady transfer, so it is a loan to Barclays Bank of London and the Royal Bank of Scotland of London. Blackheath does some unearthing and produces original copies of documents supporting his claims of this money transfer. Money could not have been transferred to IMF if guidelines were followed, and Treasury is not aware of this kind of transfer, yet receipts for this transfer are real. No one seems to know where the money is, but it is on the books and potentially undermining London's banking system and being used as leverage for a payout. To who is the question? The Federal Reserve. Some things to ponder. Just last week, a CEO of Royal Bank of Scotland resigns. The IMF director was replaced by Christine Lagarde not long ago. Iran just stopped sales of oil to the UK. It is suggested that the UK and the Federal Reserve have a relationship deeper than a mother and a daughter. Put this together with the fact that this is just one of how many of these that are going on, and you might now know why so many bankers are resigning. Fraud is being exposed and arrests are happening all over the globe as we speak. Most importantly, if Riady was frauded and wanted to turn in his 15 trillion for cash out immediately, who would be bankrupt overnight? Who would own the United States? Hope this helps you understand some of what Sixth Floor has been doing for a while now and is still doing. It is a major house cleaning going on and had to be done before our RV. Otherwise the bad guys would have the ability to further their agenda with the RV windfall. Ain't gonna happen. You have yet to hear the names of the United States folks that are going down, and soon you will be surprised. Please help share this article with others. See links to this below. Thanks. The heroic fight with us. The honest support us. The corrupt fear us. For we are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Expect us.